Hi everyone, this is my second presentation. I want to show this presentation. This is not more of a hardcore science thing. Maybe it's a bit more science fiction or a bit more soft, but it is technology related, science related, and just like a fun theory kind of thing. So if you're interested in doing something more like this, that's not more like hard science, then this is something that you can do. So also, please, while I give this presentation, also see how I give it, and it'll help you to present for yourself as well. Okay, it doesn't have to be as in depth or anything like that, but it should give a guideline. All right, so who/what are you? So when I was a little boy, I used to constantly think, and I wondered, am I the only person in this world that's real? Like everyone around me seemed like they were human beings like I was, and everyone I interacted with, they all seemed like, humans, like, and everything. But I always wondered, like, am I the only one that's real and everyone else is like an advanced robot that's like playing around me? Like I always like kind of like the Truman Show, if you've ever seen that. Like I always wondered, am I the only one that's real and everyone else is an advanced robot? Anyone ever used to think like that, or maybe I'm the only crazy one? Anyway, what I want, I'm gonna go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit, but I want to really look at technology right now, and I want you to think about technology. I want you to think about how has technology changed throughout your own life. Personally, for me, I remember when the first cell phone I ever saw. So when I was in middle school, I saw the first cell phone that a student had. It looked something like this. It was a bit slimmer, but it pretty much looked like this. And everybody was like, "Whoa!" Everybody was like crowded around the student, like kind of showing off how it looked. But it was just like crazy how it had like didn't have this cord and the kind of stuff like that. And everyone was just like, "Whoa, the cell phone!" I remember when kids used to always be carrying around these beepers. Probably don't even know what that is, but they had these beepers where people call them and then they'd see the number that called them and it random. I remember yellow pages where there was no Google, there was nothing like that. You'd have to search and like search through this and kind of look for people's numbers or look for stores locations and things. And I wonder if you guys know what this is. Like this is a map. So I remember like when I was like 20, like doing road trips and stuff like that, we would have to look at this map to know how to get somewhere, like what highway to take, what exit to go off of. And it's just crazy because nowadays, if I'm like traveling somewhere like 8 hours away, I won't even look at anything. Right? 5 minutes before the trip, put it into my phone, done. That's all I do. But like, I used to spend hours looking at what the best route was and how to read a map and things like that. It's just insane. Anyway, I want you to think about more how has technology evolved in in life and things like that. And this is just my life, I'm like 30 years old. I'm not that old. So, one way I want to specifically look at this is with video games. So, this was the first video game ever. This is Pong, 1972. So, a bit more than 40 years ago. But I want you to kind of look at how this game looks like in the few beginning games of this time. Okay, so looking at this game, like it's like okay, whatever. When this thing came out, it was like crazy. Everyone went insane. Coolest thing ever. If you had this on the block, I wasn't alive during this time, but people have told me like everyone came to your house to play this. It was like insane when this came out. This was around like a little more than 40 years ago. Now I want you guys to see the games that we play nowadays. So I don't know what this game is, but it came out 2017, and I would want to show how it looks like. Okay, so when I look at that, that's only a 40-year difference, and we're going from doot, 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 this thing to this world that looks absolutely beautiful. It looks so real, and it's crazy that just within this 40-year lifespan, how things have changed. And it just astonishes me to see that. And that's, things look more real, they feel more real, and things like that. But I also want you to think about more with technology. Nowadays, technology, we can it also is emotionally a lot more real. We may make fun of this, but we have something like Virtual Mate, where it's a video game you can buy, or this app, My Virtual Girlfriend, which is free. And people are experiencing through these games, this simulation, they're able to experience this emotional and social connection that's just as real, and they would even argue even more real than what we interact with people or with humans. And it's crazy just within these years how technology has become something that looks and feels so real, and it also emotionally is able to give us that same kind of satisfaction as we have today in our everyday lives as we interact. I mean, some people argue that, but some people argue this is even more real than having a real life girlfriend, or these people, these characters are more important than these other humans. And they will say that. And there are many kind of testimony and showings of that. And now looking at that, I want you to think that was just within 30, 40, 20 years. I want you to think, what is the next 20 years going to look like? I want you to think, what is the next 50 years going to look like? What is the next 100 years going to look like? What is the next 1,000 years going to look like? I want you to think about that. If this has changed in 40 years, in 1,000 years, how is life going to be? And I'm sure you can imagine that when we play video games or things like that, that it's going to seem so real that it's going to feel indistinguishable to real life. Like we won't know what's real and what's technology. And these virtual girlfriends or technological girlfriends or boyfriends, I'm sure that they're gonna feel so real that there's not gonna be any difference. And those like characters, they're gonna have the same level of consciousness as any human being is gonna be. So they're gonna have just as many rights and everything's gonna be the same as human beings. I think that's very real in 1,000 years if technology in 40 years has advanced this much. So I want you to think again, how much more is it gonna be evolving, and how and what is that world going to look like? There has been what some scientists have done is they've looked at a worm, looked at all the neurological functions and all the function of this worm, and compiled all the data of it and put it into a machine. What they did is they compiled all this data and put it into a Lego machine. So the Lego robot at the, was acting like the worm and it's moving around. So I want to show a little video about that.
It may not look like one, but this robot is actually a simulated worm. Scientists from the Open Worm Project, an open source program dedicated to creating the world's first virtual organism in a computer, have created software that simulates a common roundworm by using a complete map of the neural connections inside its brain.
So that's crazy. They're able to get all the information of this worm and download into a robot. Then now that robot is acting like this worm, and that's insane. And I know like worms aren't that complicated. There is probably is not that much information, but we're able to do that today. So in 100 and 1,000 years from now, what do you think that means of what we'd be able to the data we'd be able to collect and what we'd be able to download into a robot or something like that? I think like we could imagine being able to get all the information of a human being, everything that entails, and being able to put that into a robot or maybe put that into a simulation. I don't think that would be the craziest thing. And if you were to just let's imagine that we could do that. We could get all the information of what makes me me and get all that data, and let's say we put it into a simulation. And now we put into that simulation, and now I want to see, okay, let's see this Mr. Burns, and let's see how he reacts if he has this kind of job. And we play the simulation and see how he does with the job. And it's like, oh, okay, let's see how he does with this kind of job, and play the simulation, do that. And now we could have these kind of simulations where you can build this kind of person, and it has these simulations that shows out how life plays out. And we could do that with love. Oh, what happens if it marries this kind of a person? And we could see how it plays out. And we can imagine a world where we can be kind of creating this world. We have all this data and we have all this technology, and we could create this kind of a world. And we could almost watch it like a movie, or we can play it like a game where everything feels and looks so real. And we're almost like their God. We're creating what they can do, what they can't do. They feel and look so real. They feel like they have all this choice and everything like that. And we could see how they play out into the game. And it'd just be interesting. And like maybe they would advance and they'd learn more science and stuff like that within the simulation. And then we would see that within their simulation, they're starting to learn all these things. They can create a simulation of themselves. They can create a simulation for themselves, making their own simulation. But then, like, you think at that point, wait a second, what if we're the ones in the simulation? What if we think, we're the human beings, we're controlling everything and things like that, but what if there's someone coding everything for us and we're just in their simulation? Like when I was a little kid, I thought everybody was a robot except for myself. But maybe I was close to the truth, but I wasn't right. Maybe everyone is a robot and I'm a robot too. Are we living in a simulation? Are we just one of the simulations? All right, that's my presentation. Anyway, it's just a presentation. It's not. I just found it something fun to explore, and I really liked it. It's just a topic I really like, so I really want to just go into it. It's not something I believe or anything. I definitely think about, but yeah. Anyway, just interesting for me. I just want to say that this was a presentation I gave a long time ago for a speech competition. It was a 7-minute speech that I had to give, and I spent around 10 hours doing the research to make this presentation, even though it was like only 7 minutes long. So I just want find something you love, get wrapped up in it, and create something cool. Of course, like it doesn't have to be. Just make your own thing. If it's not as good or it's better, it doesn't matter. Just like have fun with it. Dive into something that you've always wanted to dive into. And I look forward to how bad or how good your presentation is. It should just be yours. All right. I look forward to seeing it. See you guys. Thanks for watching. Boom, boom, boom.